I'm selling my 6-month-old Nikon Z5 Mark II, and here's the reason why. This is just a short video about getting the right tool for the job, and I will also reveal what I will buy instead. I'm not selling the Nikon because it's a bad camera. For being a traditional full-frame camera, this is in fact a really good camera, especially considering the price. The autofocus is perfectly fine, the 7.5 stop IBIS works really well, the user interface is fast and snappy, and the camera is loaded with tons of functions that is usually found on much more expensive cameras. The size and the weight of the camera is fairly small for being a full-frame camera. That can be a good or a bad thing. For me, it's mostly a good thing. The image, both photo and video, is great. The line-skipped internal RAW recording is more of a marketing gimmick, but N-Log works great if you're exposed to the right. There are dual card slots, but that will unfortunately only work for photography and not for video. And here is where we start to get into my reasons as why I will not keep this camera. But in the end, there is actually one thing in particular that makes me replace this camera with something else. And it's probably not the reason you think. To start with, this is a photography first camera, which can record video in very high quality. But for that, I would probably need a gimbal. I could shoot handheld, but that will never give that buttery smooth footage, especially when I use longer lenses. A gimbal adds complexity, cost and weight, which I'm not that interested in. The reason I started to doubt this camera is a 1.5 times crop when filming in 4K 60 frames per second. I often or almost always film in 4K 60 to be able to slow down and smooth out footage, but also to get more footage and longer clips, since I usually film short sequences. Having 4K 60 available at least reduces the need for having a gimbal. But with this camera, in these settings, I will essentially have an APS-C camera. A big and heavy APS-C camera. And what's the point with a full-frame camera then? Do I really want to buy into an expensive ecosystem with these limitations? You could argue that I should get this Z6 Mark III or a ZR instead. But those cameras are also more expensive. And together with everything I would need to buy, we start talking serious money. For my tiny YouTube channels, it isn't really worth it. But let's get to my biggest concern with this type of camera. And that was accentuated by a recent trip to the Canary Islands, where I knew I would film a couple of bike videos. I ended up not bringing my brand new and, to be honest, fantastic camera simply because of the space it would take up in my luggage and in my bag, which I use on my bike trip. I ended up filming with my phone, my action camera and my action drone instead. So there's no point having a camera like this when I'm not even using it. My luggage, especially on my return flight, was overweight as it was, and including an extra 1.5 kilos, including other lenses and accessories, wouldn't help. It also takes up some space that I didn't have after all of my and my daughter's shopping sprees. You have to have intent with using a camera like this. It's not something you always have with you and that you can whip out from your pocket when you find something interesting to film. It's also not the ideal camera to have on your bike. So what should I replace it with that provides nice professional looking footage that's better than using a phone? The thing is, the cameras I'm choosing in between don't exist yet, but they will in a few months' time. I will buy either the DJI Osmo Pocket 4 Pro, the Insta360 Luna, but I'm also intrigued with GoPro's upcoming cinema lineup. Either camera will probably provide footage comparable to the Z5 Mark II. At least you as a viewer will not notice any difference. And perhaps even more importantly, there will always be room for a small camera like this. This is something that I always can bring with me. The integrated audio solution and the simplicity with using cameras like this is also a huge plus. That leaves room for thinking about creativity rather than specific settings that potentially can ruin your shot. So this is the way that I will go for now, and I understand that cameras like these are not for everyone. For me, who's out biking and hiking all the time, it's almost a necessity. And I'm not going to produce any Hollywood movies in the near future, even if I have made a few commercials for local businesses, but that's about it. I still have the urge for a more traditional mirrorless cinema rig, but I think an APS-C camera with good stabilization that can film in 4K 60 without any crop is a better choice for video creators than the Z5 Mark II.